From fashion to sex and intimacy, no topic is off limits for 5 women who make up grown folk. Meet these sassy ladies next on Prime. And welcome back to Prime. I'm Amy Jones. There's a new talk show called Grown Folk. It's for active, mature adults, and all of the hosts are 55 or older, and they are here with us today. Thanks, ladies, for joining us. Let me tell you everyone's names. So we have Summer Selby-Drew, Michelle Levy, Linda Franklin, Karen Head, and Lourdes Bryant. Thanks again for being here today. Summer, give me an idea, where did this show concept come from?
Oh my goodness, where do I begin? Right, ladies?
Yeah.
From being over 50 and experiencing what I experienced over the last 13 years. Being an actress in Dallas and being sort of pushed aside and called upon less and less. Going places in the city and encountering people that looked at my head and looked at my hair and called me ma'am. Some people that talked louder to me, some people that enunciated more. I mean, all kinds of things happened. But basically, I felt that there were things that begin to happen after you're 50, 55, 60 that make you stop and pause and say, I don't really have an experience level that helps me deal with this issue that's coming up now. Never thought I'd have to face this, such as parents who are in their 90s and won't let me help them and things like that. Lots of things come up that make you think, oh, gee, there must be somebody else that has this issue, and why isn't anybody talking about it? Is it a secret? Is it anathema? Or are we supposed to keep it hush-hush or what? So I thought somebody ought to do a show about this. I need to be able to tune into something and hear people, talk about it. So that's where it came from.
How did you put this team together?
Oh my goodness. I placed ads. I placed an ad in Craigslist.
Craigslist is where I found the
Dallas
ad.
Film Casting is where I found it.
Craigslist for me.
Because I was looking for outgoing women who might be looking at a source of information that was different from just the newspaper. Placed an ad, excuse me, got about 30 responses, went through a series of interviews and auditions, and
here we are.
It's a great team.
And we all
Wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
we made the cut.
Explain to us a little bit, how do you compare to other shows? People are used to The View or some of those shows. Do you have that dynamic going on, or what's the flavor like?
I think we have a little of that going on, but of course our focus is primarily to deal with issues of women that have
Older.
yes, even though sometimes we don't like to use that word, active adults that that we want people to know that we are still vibrant and alive and active, and it's true what Summer said. It seems like things get pushed to the sort of to the margins as you get older, and the focus when you look at the shows that are out there usually are for the younger demographic. And we're still here, and we have money, and we spend money. So we want to address those issues that are of concern to us.
And the topics that you touch on in the show, they really can appeal to everyone. I mean, you don't have to be 55 and older to watch it, right?
Absolutely not. Right. Oh, no, we hope other people will watch it. Those younger people are going to be us someday.
We're wanting to change the image of aging. I remember asking my mom, she was in her 60s, and she had always been a vibrant, beautiful woman. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, how do you feel aging and your looks changing? And she pointed to her sagging eyes and shrugged her shoulders. And, if there was a show like this one on TV that she could turn to, relate to, get excited about once a week, that would have been great. But she had almost become a recluse, not doing anything, not going anywhere, and TV didn't matter. And our show relates to a specific crowd, and it would have been nice if we had been around then. Something for us to look forward to. Anyone.
Yeah.
Even the younger people can learn from our show.
I know, I've seen
Yes.
this show. I thought it was hysterical. I mean, it's so funny. And
Thank you.
Well,
you
I
know,
think it's a great show.
We keep using the word issues, but it's not negative issues. We're talking about fun things, anything that would improve the life of someone that's over 50. And there's a lot of us that have learned a whole lot as we've gotten older, and this way we're hoping to share this with some of the other folks out there, some of the other grown folk.
Yeah.
Well, I think with age, there also is wisdom, and I think right now, but there's a lot of baby boomers right now, and like Lourdes said, we do have a lot of power because some of us still have a little money left over from our kids not stealing it from us. And so therefore, we have a lot of opinions, and we want to make people feel like there is a camaraderie among older people. We're not worthless people that are disposable people. We have power, we're empowered, especially with women at this age, 55 and over, and we have a lot to share, a lot to, share with other people.
And then there's the other perspective, looking from the other direction. There are younger women that come to me and say, yeah, I think I'd like to watch that show because I want to know why my kid's grandma, my mother, does not want to be called grandma.
Yes.
So they'll be looking at us to try to figure us out because we have a lot to share.
How?
I actually, talking about grandma, one of my granddaughters calls me Lita.
Lita.
Lita, and it's because in Spanish, you usually use the word abuelita. So they just took the little end of abuelita, and she calls me Lita, and I love it.
It's beautiful.
I love it. It's very cute.
Would you agree that aging today is different than aging in your parents' generation?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes.
My mom
Completely.
at 63 was nothing like me. I mean, she hit her peak in her 40s, and then she seemed to just,
Dwindle
give
away?
up.
Yeah, give up.
She gave up because, and I think it's because she was pushed aside. Not because she wanted to give up, because she was a firecracker, but she gave up.
Yeah, I think in my mother's generation, it was more about accepting the role of being the grandmother. And once you sort of accept it, and that may be one of the reasons why a lot of grandparents now don't want to use the word grandma, grandpa. Not that I don't have a problem with it, actually.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I don't either.
But I think that our mother's generation, they took on that role, and then that role had a certain way to behave and to interact in their peer group.
Well, there was black and white television as well. So, I mean, we grew up with Donna Reed and, being the little happy housewife with an apron. I don't even have an apron.
Yeah, very settled people.
I mean, it's changed. The roles of women have changed. We're definitely more progressive. A long time ago, I have an aunt who is Hispanic, and she's almost 90 years old, and she's a cardiothoracic surgeon. And that time, women weren't, we were told to, just what are we making for dinner, and bringing the newspaper to our spouses when they came home. A lot of us didn't have to work, so there were one-income family. The husband would go and work, and I was raised to be a homemaker. So I didn't know my mother didn't know any better. She told my brother to go to medical school. She told me to marry a doctor. So she told me to become one.
Amy, this is what you get. When you have better health care, when you have the whole country pushing you to exercise and try to stay fit, when you have the whole society saying you need to stay as young as you can and look as young as you can, as long as you can, this is what you get when you have all of that encouraging you and pushing you and motivating you to be the best that you can be.
Right.
We are changing. 60 is the new 40, they say. Yeah. We are changing each age group. And in the future, I think people are going to stay younger longer.
Because we want to?
Yeah.
Right.
We want to.
Because we want to.
We want to show that we're no longer the old generation, we're the new generation. And we're coming out with new things, new ways to live. And not look at our lives as being over, but just beginning, and looking at your life as, what can I do, you know, to make me feel good? What can I do aside from not working, but to doing something to make life meaningful? And so many times when you're at the age of retirement, you kind of say, well, that's it, let's give up. Well, we don't want you to do that. We want to show you that life can begin anew with grown folk.
Yeah, that was a big motivator for me to answer the ad, actually. It
me
was like
too.
a new adventure. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can talk.
Exactly.
Been doing it since I was 2.
Yeah, that was what attracted me to the ad as well. Because I don't know how you worded it on Craigslist, but in the Dallas film casting, it said, pass this on to your aunts and your mothers and your grandmothers. We need a co-host for a talk show for older women. And that's what I answered. And it was, you know, it went on from there.
And there's not that many ads out there for
No,
older women.
there's not.
There aren't any except
Only in New York. You get a ton of ads for up to 100 years old.
But then what happens is, if you go, especially if you're in the acting profession, and you don't look a certain way that they think a 60-year-old or a
exactly
70-year-old should look, then all of a sudden you don't have the job.
Yeah.
So I think it is about changing the minds of what the perception of someone over 50, 60, 70, even 80 looks like now.
Yeah, that's what I could relate to, because they booked me, I'm an actress and voiceover talent, and they booked me as a grandmother when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, because in TV land, grandmothers are in their late 30s, early 40s, and I worked as a grandma. Sometimes they put gray in my hair, sometimes they put latex on me, but most of the time they didn't. And so now at 63, what do I play?
Grandmothers.
You know, they don't call me for grandmother anymore. They see 40-year-olds for grandmothers.
Yeah.
And then the other issue is at 60, I see my life in thirds. I'm in the third of my life. As I said before, my mom coasted through it. I don't intend to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
either.
starting
I
all
don't
over
either.
again with something new.
Right.
We want to excite people about our age. They need to know that it's an exciting time. And back in the old days, when you would talk to someone about getting old, they'd say, well, it beats the alternative.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want you to say that. You know, we don't want you to say that. We want you to feel alive and like, this is a great time of my life, and look what I'm doing. You know, we just want to make a change to our generation.
I think we want to change the perspective on how people are viewed as being older. That, you know, we're not ready to go, you know, 6 feet under or not. I'm not ready yet, so I mean, but you know, we're empowered. We have attitude, and we.
Oh, do
Well,
we have
some of us have attitude.
I'm pretty cool most of the time.
So we're putting it out there. Everybody doesn't have to get on our bandwagon if they don't feel comfortable getting on our bandwagon. But we're putting it out there as this is an option that you are free to choose if you want to, if it feels comfortable to you.
And you have fun doing it. That's
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Really
Yes.
nice.
I mean, this is kind of typical of us talking over each other and laughing and having a great time.
And there's not one person I haven't told the show about that does not think it's the most wonderful thing they've seen or heard about in a long time. How unique, how wonderful. And they're excited about it.
And it's refreshing, I would say.
Everybody says there's a niche there that we fill, that this show is something whose time has come. Because in the landscape of TV programming, how many shows can you count
There aren't.
that are specifically for our age group, 55 and older? Not many.
Well, that's why it's so important that you're having the show, and we thank you so much for being on our show to talk about it today.
Oh,
Our
thank you,
pleasure.
Amy.
Anyone can watch Grown Folk Mondays at 8 p.m. right here on UAN, and you can find out more about the show, or Summer, Michelle, Linda, Karen, and Lourdes by visiting their website, grownfolk.info. And remember to keep up with Prime online at onprimetv.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That's all the time we have today. I'm Amy Jones. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us.